OPEC members, we understand, are discussing a compromise agreement that would see an oil production increase of between 300,000 to 600,000 barrels a day over the next few months. This is according to our great reporters on the ground and our Bloomberg sources. Stuart, if you look at the market reaction, so it went up a touch and then it kind of went down a touch. Were we expecting more?
No, I think that's about right. I mean, it is clearly a lower number than some of the parties to the OPEC Plus agreement had talked about. So Russia had been talking about, maybe 1.5 million barrels. So I think that's why you saw that spike. But of course, we had those comments from Iran over the weekend saying they're basically going to veto anything that's put forward. So those two are sort of playing off against each other. Yes, slightly higher prices, but then some caution comes in because ultimately Iran can block this deal.
Okay, so again, run us through the three options that now Saudi and Russia have. Do they get everyone else on board, although we understand that actually two people would veto it? Do they say yes and then cheat? What are their options?
Yeah, so I think right now they're still holding out for a compromise agreement, which would get unanimity. Iran's comments would suggest on the face of it that they will block it, whatever the compromise is. But again, there's a couple of days to go before they get to that point. So again, we could get a compromise. Or exactly what you said, they go back to the old OPEC tradition of just cheating, or they can have their own little group within OPEC that has its own production targets. It could get really, really messy as the short term.
Stuart, do we know what the optimal price of oil is, of Brent crude is for Saudi? Is that like a mystery? I mean, does Javier Blas make it up? How do we do that?
Well, it depends, A, who you ask, and B, what they're interested in. So when it comes to the Aramco IPO, the higher that oil price gets, the better. If they want their $2 trillion valuation, you're looking at $100 plus oil, at least, and for some time. If you're looking at their relationship with the US, they probably want something like 70 to 80, or maybe even lower, depending on what the retail gas price is in the US. If you're talking to their allies within the Gulf, it's going to be a little bit higher, and within OPEC itself, they need higher just to balance their budgets. And so it depends what day you ask and who you ask.
Does the World Cup change this? Like, does Vienna just stop here one of these days of your OPEC meeting while everybody watches Saudi Arabia lose 10-0?
I would hope not. I mean, I can't say specifically. There's an awful lot of people in there. There's a lot of TVs. I'm sure some of them will be watching pretty hard. But I think when it comes down to it, the ministers realise they've got a few days to at least keep the illusion of unanimity within this group. And remember, it's a group that's been very fractious over the years, but it has survived a lot of challenges. And I was asked this earlier. I don't think this group collapses based on the problems they face today. They've had far worse than this.